Welcome to Lesson 4 in Unit 4, Seeing, Hearing, Smelling, and Touching Like a Scientist. In this lesson, students will answer the question, what tools do scientists use to help their senses? Students will get the opportunity to use different tools that scientists use when making observations about the world around them. They will see how these tools help their five senses. Students will continue practicing being scientists by collecting data while using these tools. In the Engage part of this lesson, you'll ask the question, what else do scientists use to help their senses? You'll have students talk about the different tools they've seen scientists use. If students get stuck in this conversation, remind them of the hand lenses they used earlier in this unit. You will then show students the image of the following tools. You can ask students, has anyone used any of these before? These are the tools that they're going to be using in their Explore stations. Take time to ask students what they think these different tools can be used for. In the Explore part of this lesson, students will complete different stations so they can experience tools that scientists use. You can set up this activity so students rotate around to the different stations, or you can do this whole group. If you do set this up for stations, there are station icons located in the teacher pages. You can cut these out and place them at the station so the students know which station they're at. There is a student handout called Stations Activity Chart that your students can fill out as they go around to the different stations. The icons on this chart are reflected on the icons that you can print out and put at each station. At Station 1, students will use a Post-it, safety glasses, and a spray bottle to demonstrate why safety glasses are so important for keeping our eyes safe during experiments. At Station 2, students will compare two different tools we use for time. They'll look at a sand timer and an electric timer. They'll build things with clay to help pass the time as they're comparing these two tools. At Station 3, students will use different tools that scientists use to help enhance their eyesight. They will have different hand lenses and binoculars to explore with. If you don't have windows in your room for students to test out the binoculars with, you can hide these small images found in the teacher pages around the room so they can see how binoculars work. At Station 4, students will use a dropper. A dropper is a tool we use to transfer liquids. Students will collect data on how many drops of water you can put on the surface of a penny. At Station 5, students will use thermometers to measure the temperature of water. Students will see that thermometers can help us describe the sense of touch, how hot or how cold something is. At Station 6, students will use a balance to measure how heavy or how light their rock is. They will compare the mass of their rock to the mass of Unifix cubes. At Station 7, students will take turns filling measuring cups with sand. They will be using a tool that we use to measure out different quantities of materials. At Station 8, students will use a microscope to see how scientists use this tool to observe small objects. During the Explain portion of this lesson, you'll ask the students, how did we use the tools at each station, and how do scientists use tools to help them? Continue to make the connection that students use tools to make observations. This is all part of the scientific process. You will then reread What is a Scientist? You will point out during this read the different tools that the scientists used to collect data and plan an investigation. Continue to refer back to the scientific process poster when you need to. In the Elaborate portion of this lesson, you're going to have students connect the tools that they used in the Explore to the tools they use in everyday life. You'll ask students if they've ever used those tools in a different way. Like, how else can we use a thermometer? Students may say, for taking my temperature when I'm sick. We want to get students to think about that not only scientists use these tools, that everyone uses these tools to collect data about the world around them. In the Evaluate portion of this lesson, you will ask students, how does a magnifying glass, microscope, or goggles help your sense of sight when doing an investigation? This is a great way to hear how students feel these tools help us out when completing scientific investigations. Students will then complete the handout using tools drawing. Students should draw an image of themselves using a tool and then describe how they're using that tool to help them learn. If your students aren't ready to write, feel free to have them answer that question verbally. By the end of this lesson, students have looked at different tools that scientists use to help them gather information about the world around them. They will have also connected this back to the scientific process and how all of these tools can help our senses to make observations.